post. All right. ElkShape PODCAst number 2, episode number 2. We got Ryan Alltus here today. I'm super pumped because a lot of my podcast isn't going to be guest driven. It's going to be more topic driven, but we get to sit down with you today. I'm pumped. You've done one podcast before with Ryan Lampers, Hunt, Harvest, Health podcast with his wife Hillary. They're good friends of mine too. So we're in Ryan's living room today. In the background there is a huge 9x9 bull that blows my mind. And so we'll just I'll tell you what I know about you, and then you kind of fill in the gaps. So Ryan, from what I know, funny story, I met him in the mountains of Idaho, hunting the same area. He hunted with his father and his ex-brother-in-law, and met those guys, and I don't know how we connected. We had a mutual friend who was Tyler Denham, and I know Tyler's listening. What's up, Tyler? And so Tyler's a mutual friend, and I remember asking, after I met you a few times, I'm like, Tyler, what's the deal with this Alltus kid? He kills a lot of elk, and he hunts where I hunt, and a lot of times I run into him. Is he a good dude? And Tyler Denham vouched for it. He's like, dude, Ryan Alltus is one of the best dudes I know. And I was like, crap, I can't hate him. All right. I better get to know him then. And then I think I reached out to you, and then we kind of developed a friendship, and found we had a lot of just common ground when it came to elk hunting and passion for being in the mountains, and learned that you were a man of faith and just a hardworking firefighter and a guy who busts his ass every year to put yourself in position to get elk in the freezer, and kill some pretty nice bulls as well. And just been a pleasure to get to know you. And then at one point I even had an opportunity to have your dad and you came over to our hunting cabin, had a beer with us. That was really cool. That's the only times I really got to know your dad before he passed away. And since then, you're a solid dude. And I think more people should be like you and get to know you. So give us your background. How'd you get started in hunting? And then how'd you become a firefighter? And what else can we know about you?
Let's see how I started hunting. I can remember I was probably 6 or 8. No, I think I was probably 8. The first time I was with my dad when he killed a bull. I think I was pretty much hooked from there. I'd been with him at camp. We'd been bear hunting and stuff, and I'd seen him shoot a bear here and there. But the first time that I was with him when I was 8, I believe, was when he shot a bull when I was with him, and I was just absolutely hooked from there. Again, when I was 10, I was with him when he shot another bull, and just you couldn't pry me out of the woods. I mean, that was growing up. My room had way more antlers than this. I mean, my bed was the only the only place that I didn't have antlers in my room when I was growing up, from a little tiny kid till I moved out when I was 18. So, I mean, I was pretty hooked on it, and I had a great dad who showed me the ropes, who kind of explained to me everything, and told me about respecting animals and respecting hunters and how to do it right. He was mainly a rifle hunter, so I mean, I grew up rifle hunting, and it wasn't until I was, I want to say I was 15 or 16 when I finally picked up a bow. My dad and I were bear hunting. We're sitting on one of our favorite spots that we call the bear spot, and this bull kept bugling down in the timber, and it was elk season as well, but we just have rifles, and it's, we're bear hunting. We didn't care about elk hunting because it wasn't October, and this bull comes out, and still to this day, minus the 2 bulls that I've killed in Wyoming and New Mexico, was one of the biggest bulls I've ever seen. It was definitely the biggest bull I've ever seen in Idaho. We figured him like 360 to 380, just an absolute ginormous bull. My dad's hunting partner had a cow call with him, hit the cow call a couple times, and the bull came up to 70 yards right underneath this rock that we were sitting on. It's like, maybe we should start thinking about bow hunting. So I started bow hunting for deer, and ended up just migrating right into elk, and now I don't even really bow hunt for deer because Idaho really just doesn't support the seasons for archery hunting. But that's how I got started, was because of my dad. My dad really started me in everything. I mean, he got me hooked from a young age to where I fell in love with it all.
So how old were you when you stuck your first bull with the bow?
It was 2002, so I think I was 17. No, I was 16, so it must have been 14 or 15 when I saw that big bull because it was my junior year of high school when I shot my first bull with a bow. It was actually on opening day. I was sitting in a tree stand over a wallow. I shot him 4 times with my bow. I shot him once at 15. He ran out to 40. I cow called and he stopped, so I shot him again at 40. And I'm a huge proponent of, if they're standing, keep shooting.
Yep.
I'd rather ruin a little bit of meat than not find him. So he ran out to 40. I shot him again. He ran out to 70, and he's starting to climb up this hill. So I shot him again. I kind of hit him back a little bit, and he ended up rolling down the hill, and he rolled all the way down to the creek bottom. And he stood up and he started going up again. I have 3 arrows in him already, and I'm like, he laid down, but he's laying down and his head's up. So I shot him again. That time I hit him like just right in the bottom of the chest here, but that 4th one was the last one that he took. So
wow.
I'll always shoot an elk if they're on their feet and I can shoot them. If I know I have an arrow in them, I'll take a shot.
That's good for
However
anyone
I
listening,
can,
really.
yeah.
If you've never killed an elk and you wanting to,
Yeah.
you shoot until it's on the ground,
Yeah.
and you watch enough videos, or at least be in the woods long enough. Elk are the toughest animal in the mountains. They do not want to die, and you just shoot until they're until you have no more arrows or they're on the ground.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good
Like
advice.
my 2016 Idaho bull, that one actually right there, I took a frontal shot, which I'm not a big proponent of frontal shots just because there's such a small window here. I took it.
It's 8 inches. You have an 8-inch.
Yeah. Yeah,
And that's if they hold still.
Yeah.
And that's if everything's.
Yeah.
It's a lot of margin for it.
Yeah. So I hit right on the side, right on the
no.
side right here, and it went on the outside of the rib cage, in between the hair and the rib cage, and stuck down in his back leg, so it never even entered the chest cavity.
Yeah.
It looked great from the shot.
Yeah.
But he turned and he ran out to about 45 yards, and I called and stopped him and double lunged him, and he only went 40 yards. But in that situation, I think most people would probably just, like, I don't want to move, or I'm just like, I'm shooting until I.
I've seen that video, so I know. I think I love what you did. You made a shot. It looked good. I mean, it looked great.
Yeah, it looked
and then
great, yeah.
you cow called. You stopped him at 30. You knocked another arrow, and then thank God you did, because that next shot smoked him.
Yeah.
And then when you were skinning him out, that's when you found your arrow, basically between the hide and the ribs.
Yep.
You would have had an arrow souvenir in his body.
Yeah.
And the other thing that was interesting about that bull was that when you got his shoulder out, you found
A slug from a rifle from a year or more prior. The entire shoulder blade was healed back over like it was just like a tennis ball on his shoulder blade.
Yeah.
When I was boning it out, I kept hitting bone everywhere I'd go, and ended up. I didn't find it in the shoulder blade, but when I cut, I take like everything. I take rib meat, I take neck meat, take everything. So when I was cleaning out the rib meat when I was back at my house, I was trimming down the rib meat and hit a chunk of metal and pulled out a perfectly rifled slug.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they can survive that. I don't know if it went through his chest cavity. I don't know if it was just a really long shot and it
probably lost energy.
Yeah, lost energy and blew through the shoulder and stuck in the rib meat. I don't know. But all I know is, that's probably what happened, because this shoulder was, blown up, and I found it in rib meat. Granted, it could have been this side rib meat. I don't really know, but
probably not. Yeah. And then, do you think down this rabbit hole, have you ever hit a bull right in the shoulder blade with an arrow?
Yeah.
Just smack, boom.
Yeah.
And it's the worst sound you've ever heard.
Yeah.
And did your arrow go through the?
I had a bull that I killed in 2006 that I hit him high in the scapula, so it, high in the scapula, it's pretty thin.
Yeah.
It's a thin bone, so you can go through the scapula pretty high, but where the scapula comes down and it forms a solid bone right there, you're not going through that. I stuck a bull, I don't know, 2008 probably, and I hit him just low in the scapula, and I mean, my arrow was broken off like this far behind my insert, no blood on it. I followed him for a couple hundred yards, but just never found anywhere that even bled. So.
Yeah, the bull I shot this year was quartering 2 severe, but I mean that was the only shot I had, and I snuck the arrow in tight, and I ended up hitting. I was pretty high, he was pretty low, so it was going in high and coming out low. It hit the shoulder blade, basically high scap, and like you said, it's thin up there, so it broke through that, and then just settled into both lungs, and he went 80 yards and died. But that was a little lucky. I mean, looking back, I'm like, dang, if I'd been an inch to the right or an inch lower, would have smacked that solid bone piece. you're not going through that. And I was with a 4 blade, and I shoot a heavy arrow, and I shoot probably extra poundage because I'm
Yep.
short. But at the end of the day, elk are tough, and that's what we're trying to hammer home is elk are tough, man.
Yeah.
They're really tough, and when you get one on the ground, you either made a really perfect shot or you just followed up until they were on the ground. Yeah. Well, let's get into, you're a firefighter. Like the theme of this podcast is, look, man, I want to relate to people that actually support the hunting industry. You know, in my opinion, and I may get lose friends over this, the hunting industry sucks. Like, a lot of my friends in the hunting industry are cool dudes, but there's a chunk of them that I just cannot stand. And the reason why I can't stand them is because they're so fake, they're so unrelatable, they're salesmen, 24/7 selling you something. And that's why I was like, that's it. I'm doing ElkShape. We're doing it for blue-collar guys that maybe only have weekends to hunt, like my buddy Scott, you know, or who's your buddy that's a logger up in Idaho too? What's his name?
Scott Sherminster?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah.
That guy, he's a logger.
Yeah.
And he's busting his ass, and he's in the woods, you know, sun up to sundown, at least, and then he's get 2 days to hunt on the weekends with everybody else, and that's his season.
Yep.
I want to relate to guys like that. They don't have a lot of time. They're supporting a family. They're working hard, and they're not out there to sell anything. But they're the end user. They're the guys that actually buy the stuff from these companies that are paying people in the industry to promote. And I think a lot of the hunts that they go on are unrelatable. I think that what's more relatable is the over-the-counter hunters, the general season tag holders that still get it done year after year. And in my opinion, guys like you that kill some animals that look like they come out of Arizona, but they're public ground, over the counter, and I want to get into your head about all that kind of stuff. But you're blue collar, you're a firefighter, you're an EMT. What do you like? What's your day-to-day life look like? You know, which department do you work at, and how long? What's your shifts and all? Like, just give us like a history of when you're not hunting. What are you doing?
I actually don't work that much. I mean, that's why I'm so blessed as far as being able to, the time to go out and to chase these animals. I work 2 days on and then I get 4 days off.
Okay.
So I work 2 days, 4 days off, and if I want 10 days off, all I got to do is get a trade for 2 days or take vacation for 2 days. So I typically save all my vacation days, or a lot of my vacation days, for September, October, November time, and I'll just take a 10-day block here. I'll go back to work for 2 days and I'll take a 10-day block.
Yep.
So that way, I always have to come back to shower and to restock and stuff like that. So I'm really blessed when it comes to having the time off. Like if I want to hunt, I just take 2 days off and I just go for 10 days if I can.
Yeah.
So.
But 48 hours ain't no joke. I just want people, like I work at 24 at the department I'm at, and that can get long.
Yeah.
48 hours and your call volume's up, you're earning your money.
Mm-hmm.
So let's not. That's a sweet schedule, but there's probably 48 blocks where you don't sleep much.
Mm-hmm.
You've saved some lives. You've put out some fires. You've helped some people get to the hospital, things like that. So that's cool. So why'd you want to be a fireman?
I actually didn't know what I wanted to do. When I was a little kid, I wanted to be a professional fisherman.
Oh yeah.
That obviously wasn't going to happen. So after that, my dad wanted me to sell insurance with him because he was an insurance agent. So I started to kind of look into that a little bit because my dad had all the time off he wanted to. It was perfect because I'd call him on a Wednesday, be like, "Hey, Dad, you want to go hunting tomorrow?" I'd be like, "Yeah, let me clear one of my appointments and let's go." So I was like, I'd like that schedule, but I'm not a salesman. I'm not someone who's trying to sell stuff to people. It's just not my thing. Like, if I'm trying to sell something to you and you're like, "No, I'm not interested," I'm like, "All right, well, see you later." So I'm just not a salesman. It wasn't for me. So I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I was actually roommates with my buddy Matt at the time, and he was dating a girl whose dad was a chief at Spokane City, and he came home one day when Matt was there, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you just go take your EMT test?" I was like, "Okay." So he came home, he's like, "Hey, would you want to do this with me?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it." So we took an EMT test together, or the class, not the test. So we took the class together. He ended up getting hired at Coeur d'Alene Fire, and I ended up getting hired at Northern Lakes Fire, which is just north of there, Hayden.
Yeah.
And it's the best job in the world. Yes, 48 hours sucks sometimes, but to get 4 days off, like you go home, even if I sleep for 12 or 14 hours the first day, I still have 3 days that I can still go do stuff. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
And even if I'm a little tired, if I'm going hunting,
You can figure it out.
Figure it out. Yeah.
Cool.
I'll miss an evening hunt. I'll get up there. I'll set up my camp. I'll miss an evening hunt and just go to bed early and then wake up rested the next day. So.
And from the outside looking in, I did do some ride-alongs with your department when I was kind of looking into becoming a firefighter, and I got to meet your training chief, and I've actually done CrossFit classes for your department. You work at a really good fire department. I mean, I really like almost all the guys. I don't like all of them, but but I like a majority of the guys in your fire department. Like, they're really, you guys got something special there. I like you're in a good situation. I like it.
I agree. I'm glad where I'm working. Coeur d'Alene Fire which is where Matt got hired. They're just crazy busy.
Yeah.
Compared to, we at least have breaks now and then where Matt's on like Medic 32, and it's just you don't get a break.
And they're 48, right? And 6.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was doing some of my training at their station, is that 3 with the training tower?
2.
2.
Yeah.
I felt sorry. Then we'd be there just for, I don't know, from 6 to 10 p.m. on a weeknight, and those guys were just nonstop running calls. I'm sure that never changed. So, so firefighting's cool. You're a passionate elk hunter. We kind of got your background, but we're gonna kind of get into some elk hunting tactics, because that's really the first 15 minutes is kind of just introductory. But now it's time to get after it. So we're gonna get into some of the elk hunting. That's Ryan's fiance is leaving, and by fiance, soon to be wife, I mean like today's the 9th. Today's 9th.
Yeah.
In 7 days you're married, and that girl just went out the door.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a second. That's crazy.
It is.
How many hunting seasons has she dated you through?
2.
That's the best answer. So always, guys, if you're getting married, think about getting married, put that gal through 2. Not 1, but 2 hunting seasons. If you put them through 1, in my opinion, they may put on a facade that, oh yeah, that's cool, I get it. But that second year, if you're already married to them, and then you do the same thing and you're gone for a month or weeks,
22 days or something like that.
They may put the smack down because they're already married to you. So I don't have a lot of marital advice. I haven't been married that long, maybe 9 years, but I would say that the longer you can put a future wife through a couple hunting seasons to see how they respond, because at the end of the day, they need to know that they're not going to change you. Yeah. You know, they need to marry you for who you are, and hunting is part of who you are. And yes, they're a hunting widow, but they're going to get the best version of you when you come back, because the mountains provide clarity as to what's really important, and give you time with God, and give you time to reflect, and give you time to be a man and get tested and all that stuff. Yeah. I love about hunting. I've tried to explain to my wife, and don't get me wrong, every year there's a bumpy road, you know, especially with having 2 kids now, and me working 2 jobs and her working they're all sacrificing so I can go hunt. At the end of the day, we are sacrificing, not just so that's cool. I'm excited. Are you nervous about getting married?
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's probably good.
I think if you're not nervous when you're getting married, I think there's something wrong.
You seem like a guy that, just judging your relationship with your dad, you guys were so close, and we have that common bond. Like, I hunt with my dad. My dad is such a good man. I want to be half the man he is, and I feel like you're probably the same way, the way your dad was. Do you have a strong desire to have a son or have a family?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing for me, obviously, I want to pass on, just my knowledge and everything outdoors. Like, I see my best buddy Luke. He's got 2 little boys. Excuse me. And just seeing the love that his boys have for the outdoors, like, and just to be able to share that, to bring, kind of your son up into the same life that you have, but try to make it even better.
Yeah.
I definitely want to have that. I don't know that I could not have that. Especially, I think of like when I'm 50 or 60 years old and Christmas time rolls around and you don't have family that's coming over to the house. Like that would just be boring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't look forward to holidays like I do now. Being able to gather with family and eat good food and gossip and talk and share hunting stories and
yes. So the future missus, she wants to have kids too?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And she moved up here from California.
Yes.
And that's kind of a major move.
It is.
So she was
big move.
She's Southern California or?
No, she was Northern California.
North
just
Cal.
outside of Sacramento.
Okay, well, still, that's a pretty big climate change to go to North
Yeah.
Idaho. So,
Yeah.
how's she faring with the
Oh, well,
21
so far we
degrees?
really haven't. It's cold, but I mean, she hasn't had to drive in snow really yet. So
Yeah.
it's been really good so far.
Yeah.
I think she's going through, like anybody does when they move to a new place. They don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to go through a hard season.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard working for a job. You move from California where the pay is good no matter what you do. I mean, if you flip burgers, it's way higher than if you're flipping burgers up here. But so she's working at a job where she feels like she's making peanuts.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. I kind of have to remind her that the cost of living here is nothing compared to the cost of living down there. So yes, in the grand scheme of things, you may feel like you're making peanuts, but you're actually doing pretty well. I mean, for
definitely. It's funny that you say the economics of Idaho, because I was driving in and I was just trying to do like a prelude, like a video of me driving to your place to do the podcast for the ElkShape YouTube channel. I was like, just crossed the border, headed into Idaho. This is where Ryan Alltus lives. He pays state income tax. I do not. However, I pay $416 for one elk tag. Ryan buys the sportsman package. So for $110, Ryan gets his elk tag, his bear tag, his deer tag, his cougar tag, and a wolf tag.
Yeah.
For
steelhead, salmon, archery,
everything. So there's pros and cons. Idaho is a beautiful state, and if you live in California, think about moving up here. Don't. You can't handle it. It's just too cold.
Idaho's terrible.
It's terrible. Yeah. It's terrible. Well, let's get into elk hunting.
Thinking about moving to California.
Yeah, me too. Southern California. All right, so we want to kind of drop knowledge bombs for guys. Like, this is why they really listen. Like, they want to get to know you. Cool. But they really want to become a better elk hunter. And it's a steep learning curve. I've told people before, I spent $2,800 in North Idaho elk tags until I finally shot my first bull and it died. Throw that part in there. And so that was 7 years of tag soup. I killed some elk in other states, which I find not to be as hard as North Idaho, just due to the topography, the brush, the hunting pressure, etc., etc.
Yeah.
I feel like North Idaho, and I'm biased, is one of the hardest places to kill an elk.
Oh, absolutely.
Consistently, and so it took me a long time. But now, fast forward, I'm in a position where I'm passing on bulls year after year, and I always get an elk. I can get an elk. I'm not too worried about it. Usually, I'm just gonna get an elk and fill the freezer for sure. But it's just a learning curve.
Yeah.
Dan now versus 16 years ago. Yeah, there's a lot of information to know, and how can we speed up someone's learning curve? And by the way, we're talking general tag, over-the-counter, guys. We're talking places like Colorado, Montana, Idaho. Those are your three big over-the-counter states. We're not talking about Arizona draw, New Mexico draw on a bonus, or the preference points. We're talking about maybe you live out east, or maybe you're willing to drive a long ways and come hunt over-the-counter stuff. Let's go through some of the scenarios that people should do to prepare themselves to be successful and shorten that learning curve for hunting public land elk.
I think the best thing is just getting out and learning for yourself. Obviously, it helps to listen to the right podcasts or watch the right videos. Like, I've been watching the Born and Raised, Land of the Free. It's pretty informational. Informational, is that a word?
I'm with you.
Informative. It's been pretty fun just watching it. I'm way behind. I'm nowhere near like watching it every day, but way behind. But it's I love watching stuff like that. But the biggest thing is getting your feet on the ground, getting in a scenario where there's an elk, and having it screw up and being like, okay, I'm not doing this again.
Yeah.
And trying it again, and you change something up, and okay, I'm not doing that again. And it's going to take 20 times before it finally comes together, especially if you're solo. Like, I've screwed up so many times. Before my dad passed away, we were talking about how many big bulls that we've had where, they're inside of that 40-yard range, that I did something stupid, or my dad did something stupid, and never even got a shot. It's just, I could cry myself to sleep thinking about every single one of them. It's never going to happen. It's never going to all come together. And even still to this day, I still screw up all the time. All the time. I screwed up 10 times in Wyoming this year on big bulls. And it's the best way to learn, I think, is just getting your feet on the ground in the elk woods and learning.
Accept that you're going to make mistakes, even as a seasoned
elk
killer like yourself. and how you respond to that is so important. So
Yeah.
maybe even your attitude going into it, know that you still don't have all the answers, and you are going to still screw things up.
Oh yeah.
But you got to have an attitude of it's just going to take that one. And I thought, I've been watching that series too on YouTube, Born and Raised. By the way, Cody, good job. Cody Kellum's a good friend of mine. He's always been super good to me, and he's hardworking. And I don't know his buddy Trent very well, but I like that. And I don't know the Hushin crew, but I do know Steve Speck of XO Mountain Gear. So I really like their backpacking hunts. And then Corey Jacobson, I just got a hold of him, and he's going to be on this podcast, which super excites me. Now, he is in the industry, but he's, to me, a blue-collar guy.
Yeah.
He hunts over-the-counter stuff. Did you watch some of the Wyoming hunts with him?
Yes.
Okay, so I don't know if you noticed this, but when Corey's the quarterback, if he's hunting with the guys, he's the quarterback. All the plays are ran through him, including calling until he knows that his call will not put him in position to kill. And he'll shut up and let the caller, quote unquote caller, finally do their job. I don't know if anyone ever noticed this. I noticed it right away. I was like, good Lord. Any bull bugling, he just picked where to set up. He made most of the calls until it was game time or in close, and then he would position the caller where he wanted them, and even then he would still be potential to do a bugle or a cow call or a calf call, whatever tone he needed at the time, and it was all timing. And you could just tell that he had been in so many of these scenarios, thousands of elk calling scenarios, to where, sure, he's a world calling championship, but I don't think that really matters. It's the fact that he knows what emotion to put into a call, and he knows, he's inside of elk's brain. He knows which trail they're going to take, where they're going to want to check wind, what they're going to want to see, where they're going to stand when they want to see it. All those things you have to be able to, like, they need to become second nature if you're going to be successful. And so you better start thinking like a bull elk, and especially the time of year and what it's after. So if you guys haven't seen their series, they're filming day by day for the entire hunting season. They started end of August in Oregon, which opens, I think, the last Saturday of August they opened, and then they rolled right into Wyoming hunt in an area similar to where you hunted, I think. Not as many points, but somewhere over in that area. And then they were down in Colorado, and then they're back up to Idaho, and they're going to finish up Montana. And they're filming day by day, tons of editing. Good Lord. But I really like their Wyoming, and I think the Wyoming stuff showed off their camaraderie and all the people coming together and calling, and the selflessness, and all that stuff's really good. But I know that you and I both do majority of our elk hunting solo. So what did you like about hunting with a group or some cohorts, and then what are some of the minuses of hunting with some cohorts as to why you hunt so much solo? Because I know that you're a big time solo elk hunter. In my opinion.
I love